ALI is 10 years old, listed since July 2015. It's been a really interesting ride for us. We think it's been successful. It's delivered for shareholders, and the asset class listed infrastructure we're probably as excited about as ever. We were looking for diversification for Argo shareholders, and also for listed infrastructure in particular was very well known in Australia. We had a big universe of companies. Australia was, leading the world in privatisation of infrastructure. But then these names started vanishing. They were taken over by foreign companies. Anyway, a lot less opportunities. So still really liking the space. We thought that was an asset class that would be easy identifiable with Australian shareholders. And so we started thinking about what we could do. Look, at the time, it was a very successful IPO. We raised about $280 million, which at the time was the largest LIC IPO of the time. We still think it's a unique offering. There are other ways to get exposure to global listed infrastructure, but there is only one LIC offering that in the Australian market. Well, one great attribute of investing in this asset class through an LIC is that we pay tax as a corporate in Australia, so these assets are on ALI's balance sheet in Aussie dollars, and capital profits we pay tax. Now we generate franking credits. If you're to invest in these assets yourself directly or into an ETF investing in global listed infrastructure, you're not receiving any franking as part of your income. When we were looking for a partner or someone to manage a portfolio, Argo is a corporate, we're listed. We were looking for someone who had the same integrity, the same structure, and which comes down to risk management and governance. Cohen & Steers are listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They've been running real estate assets for 40, 50 years and over 20 years in infrastructure. They've got experts on the ground. They've got a big team, a global team, close to these local assets. Cohen & Steers also run a fairly diversified portfolio. They're not very concentrated as a term. So they're across multiple geographies, multiple subsectors of infrastructure. Like utilities, for example, are very stable. Power generation to a populace, not a lot of volatility. Other areas like transport, airports, marine ports, maybe more cyclical, but also Cohen & Steers have the world to play in. So if they're a little bit more negative on, say, Europe, they might be increasing investment to, say, Canada or Brazil. It has a very low correlation to general equities. And throughout the 10 years, we've seen it significantly outperform general equities. And also, at times when general equities have done well, has lagged a little. But as a diversifying part of an individual's portfolio, it's done a really, really good job, and through that time we've managed to grow a fully franked dividend as well. Infrastructure really is fundamental to a growing and modernising economy. A lot of the world still needs to modernise, so there's a lot of new infrastructure needed. There's a lot of replacement infrastructure, and that's before we get to decarbonisation, data centres, the power to run these data centres. So we think there's a lot of investment. Governments are fairly stretched, so we think a lot of private capital is going to be required. And to get a reasonable return, we think these assets will be really well positioned. We think the opportunities presented before us now are probably as good as ever. And so we thank you for your continued support, and we look forward to growing the company for you over the next 10 years.